Welcome to the Joy of Cruising podcast with your host, award-winning author Paul C. Thornton, a weekly conversation with the amazing cruisers featured in the Joy of Cruising books, comprised of The Joy of Cruising, Cruising Interrupted, new release, The Joy of Cruising Again, as well as other fun, informative global cruise personalities. It's the next best thing to cruising, hearing about cruising from the unique and diverse perspectives of Paul's amazing guests. If you hear about a cruise that interests you, book it at www.thejoyoфvacation.com or enter to win a free cruise for two. Again, www.thejoyoфvacation.com. We really appreciate your feedback, so leave us a text. Paul can't reply, but he may read your text on the air.
Hello, Passionate Cruisers. This is Paul, and this week on the Joy of Cruising podcast, I am delighted to welcome Helena and Dustin, two cruisers with a once-in-a-lifetime harrowing tale with a happy ending on Carnival Splendor. Now, if this were a video podcast, you would be able to see me doing air quotes around cruisers. Another one of those worldwide news human interest stories I love bringing to the listeners of the Joy of Cruising podcast. Helena and Dustin are two Australians in their late 30s who have been living off-grid for the past 3 years. Their journey begins with a motorhome adventure around Australia, accompanied by their three beloved dogs. After completing the full lap of the country, they ask themselves, why not take on the world? That question led them to their next big chapter, life at sea. 8 months ago, they bought a catamaran, La Vida, and set sail trading roads for open ocean and embracing a new kind of freedom. Along the way, they decided to document their sailing adventures, the highs, the lows, and everything in between in a YouTube vlog called Sailing Barking Cat. What about Carnival Splendor and the harrowing tale, you say? Welcome, Helena and Dustin, to the Joy of Cruising podcast.
Woohoo! Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Paul. Happy to be here.
It is great to meet you virtually. I am especially glad you are safe, and the listeners will hear more about why I say that. How are you both doing?
Man, we're good. We're here in New Caledonia, in Noumea, and we're working on getting our boat fixed up. We're going to go into that in more detail later, but it's a beautiful spot, and
yes, and we're enjoying this new country. Lots of croissants. It's pretty cool.
So how long you going to be there before the boat takes off?
Man, at this stage, it's looking like 2 months, and then we'll have everything fixed. Yeah.
Oh, wow. So now will you go, are you docked, are you like close to land and you can go on land every day?
Yeah, so at the moment, we still don't have working engines or a mast. So we're on a dock at a marina, and so we can get off, go to land. And but once we get the boat hauled out, we'll probably need to find some other accommodation while they're doing some of the fiberglass repairs.
Find any good spots for meals or
Yes.
maybe my listeners would be interested in some tourist spots that you've come across.
Yes, Noumea has amazing restaurants with really, really good food. My favorite was a stone grill where they bring you on a plate a big hot stone and some protein, and you cook it on your plate on that stone. It was really delicious.
Well, you know what? I just got right into talking to you. Let me ask you to introduce yourself to the audience. So before we discuss your recent adventure story and what a story it was, share some background information for the listeners. Where you each from? Where do you live? Which is going to be an interesting question. your professional background, anything you would like to share with the worldwide cruise community.
Right. You start, Dustin.
All right. So my name's Dustin. I'm originally from Austin, Texas, but I'm also now an Aussie citizen. And about me, I run a socially responsible wine company called Little Ripples. And for every bottle of wine that we sell, we provide her entire year of clean drinking water. To date, we provide equivalent of over 750,000 people with a year of clean water. And we've got a goal to provide 5 million in the next 10 years. We do that by building water wells throughout like Uganda, Tanzania, Andhra Pradesh region in India. And so with that, we've actually, after COVID and with the help of Starlink, we've been able to have this kind of remote working lifestyle. It's basically alternative living. So we're not living in normal, houses or, kind of a little bit off the beaten path, similar to people that go and live on cruise ships and stuff. It's not standard living. It's a bit different and out there, but now it's possible. And
It's been great.
yeah, it's been amazing.
It's been amazing. Yes, and I'm Polish, also Australian already. And my profession, up until January, I used to be a software developer, but the cruising lifestyle couldn't be married with a full-time corporate job. So I changed profession, and now I'm a full-time YouTuber. And I started this YouTube channel called Sailing Barking Cat. And it is because we are sailing a catamaran. We have 3 dogs, and our cat is always barking because of our 3 fur puppies. And I'm enjoying this remote lifestyle. Seriously, it's been a treat.
Mentioned the cruising lifestyle. I had a episode about, I don't know, it's been about a month ago, and I'm sure many listeners listened to it, and I made a comment that it was about a couple similar to you living on a vessel and very professionally oriented like you. So they had full professional obligations, jobs. But when I introduced the story, I said something about this is about a couple of cruisers who've never been on a cruise ship. And I'm sure that my audience was confused, or at least some of them were confused. And so you're similar. You're a couple of cruisers, but in the community that I typically podcast into, cruising is on big ocean-going vessels, as opposed to sailing on small ocean-going vessels. So your vessel is called. Will you tell us what's the name of your vessel?
So it's called La Vita. La Vita.
La Vita.
Yeah.
And the Vita is a 42-foot catamaran. She was built in South Africa. We got her about 8 months ago, and we spent, the majority of that time kind of working on the boat, getting used to the boat, and getting everything all prepared for
The big passage.
and starting our, essentially circumnavigation where we want to sail around the world. And we
So that's what Helena means by the big passage.
Yeah, that was the start of this circumnavigation. But the big passage I referred to was our first one, which was from Australia to Fiji, and that's when we upgraded halfway.
Okay, and so you were on that circumnavigation of the world when you met up with Carnival Splendor, right?
Correct.
At the very start of it.
Yeah.
So talk about where you were headed, and who was with you on the catamaran when you happened to meet the Carnival Splendor.
Yeah, so we left Queensland, Australia. We were heading to Fiji. It was us, our 3 dogs. We've got 2 French bulldogs, Juno and Potato, and we've got a mini husky named Wiggle. And then we had 2 crew members to help us out with the passage. And it got off to a pretty decent start. We knew it was going to be a little bit turbulent for the first couple days. It was a little bit more than we thought, but everything was quite fine. But then about like 3 days into the passage, we ended up losing both of our engines. We ended up somehow got salt water into our diesel tank, and I didn't know it, and it went in and fouled the engines and the injectors. And so we even tried to, take off the fuel line to the engine, and we had spare containers of diesel, and we tried to have it go straight from a new tank, a brand new, uncontaminated 20-liter jug. But the injectors were fouled. We didn't have spare injectors on the boat. So we're 3 days in, and we don't have any engines. But luckily, we're a sailing catamaran, so we still had the sails.
So you were just out in the middle of the ocean.
Yeah. And so we figured this out because the wind died down significantly. And so we tried to start the engines to, make some pace and continue moving along. And that's when it happened, when there was basically no wind. It was like 2 knots of wind. And we weren't really moving at all. But the scary part is there was a giant storm that was coming our way. And we knew it when we planned the passage. Yeah. And we knew it when we planned the passage, but we provided ourselves 2 days buffer on it. We're like, okay, as long with the current route and the current forecast, there's a storm coming, but we have a good 2 days buffer, and so it shouldn't be an issue. What we didn't count on was both engines failing. I mean, ever since we've had the boat, we've never really had issues with the engines. Like every time you push start, they start right up. So the odds of both of them failing at the same time wasn't something we anticipated. And we've also never had issues with, salt water getting in the diesel tank. So all that was very new and surprising. So after that, we essentially bobbed around the ocean for like 2 days, waiting for this storm to come to us. And once the storm started getting closer, we started getting more wind. The wind starts pushing us along, and man, it started to get up to 20, 30 knots. The sea state starts getting a bit bigger to about 3 meters swell. But with this wind pushing us, man, we start flying. We're going like 9 or 10 knots. And for the next 2 days, we're staying right on the edge of the storm, like trying to outrun it. And luckily, we have Starlink on board, so we can see all the weather routes and all the forecasts and everything. And everything was saying that, look, you're right on the edge of it. It looks, at our current speed and trajectory, it looked like we were going to outrun the storm.
So was the wind, and I'm not a sailor, so forgive me if this is a naive question, but was the wind pushing you in the direction you were headed?
Luckily, yes. Yeah. So we were heading, it's like northeast, and the wind was coming from the south. So yeah, it was pushing us in that right direction. And that's also came into account into our passage planning when we were deciding when to leave, which route to go. That was a big factor in it. And because the wind, when you're sailing, when the winds come behind you, it's usually right where you want it to be. You don't want the wind to be coming at you straight on.
What happened next?
Yeah, so we spent 2 days trying to outrun this storm. And then we get to this one spot where on the forecast, it basically says that we've made it in front of the storm. And between where we were and our destination, everything was showing green. So these weather forecasts are color coded, like green and blue are good, red and purple are quite
Horrible.
intense. Yeah, kind of like a regular Doppler forecast when you get your your rain and wind and news. And so we get to that point, and then the wind drops from like 30 knots down to like 25 knots. The swell seems to be getting smaller. The sun pokes out. We're like, oh wow, we
made it.
We made it, and it's all smooth sailing from here. I hadn't really slept that much at that time, so I was like, look, hey guys, I'm going to sleep. Someone else can take a shift, because when you're sailing, you're going nonstop. So you have to alternate. Someone's always going to be at the helm, and looking out for just making sure we're going the right path, making sure the sails are trimmed.
Here's one of those questions. Forgive me, because I just don't know. So it was smooth sailing, but you still had your engines out.
Yeah.
So was it just smooth sailing until you could get to a location that could look at your engines? Is that what you mean by smooth sailing? I mean, you weren't going to try to continue the trip without your engines, right?
Yeah. So, well, I mean, whether we stopped at Fiji or Vanuatu or New Caledonia, it would be essentially the same procedure. We'd sail close to the port we're going to go to. Then we'd have to organize a tow into a marina, and then we could have the engines to be looked at. So whether we went detoured and went to New Caledonia, or even turned around right from the beginning and went back to Australia, we would have that same issue where once we got close, we'd have to then drop the sails and hopefully have it prearranged, someone to come out and be able to tow us in.
So it was just a matter of time. You knew you were going to have to ultimately be towed.
Yeah, but we were hoping to be, maybe a couple miles, a mile or so from the port and have a nice, easy tow in. But where we ended up getting rescued, we were over 170 nautical miles off the shore of New Caledonia, like absolutely in the middle of the ocean.
Oh. What was it like for you guys? Scary? Anxious?
Man, it was adventurous, but this is when it went from like adventurous and kind of a little bit scary to quite scary in a short period of time.
Mm-hmm.
So after
what happened to make that change?
Yeah. So after I go, hey guys, I'm super tired. I'm gonna go take a nap. Someone else take over. That lasted for about 3 hours, and then I get woken up, and they're like, "Dusty, this is bad. This is bad. You got to come up here." I'm like, what's going on? Like,
I don't mean to laugh.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm like, I hadn't really slept much, still a little bit delirious. Get up, and I look, and everything had completely changed. Like, we were in the middle of a squall, and it is just bucketing down rain, and the wind had picked up to like 30, 35 knots. The sea just got massive. Now it's like 4 meters plus swell. Everything's super angry. And we're like, wow, this is not good. And at this point in time, we were still heading to Vanuatu. And we made the call. We go, look, we're going to have to detour and go to New Caledonia. It's the closest island. This is not good. We need to get out of this storm. And so we start heading towards New Caledonia. And then a little bit later, there's this big gust of wind, and it blew off our wind instrument. So on our sailboat, there's this instrument at the top of the mast that tells us the wind speed, the wind direction. And when you're sailing, that's a very vital piece of equipment. So that ended up blowing off. And then we're like, okay, now we're like almost sailing blind. Like we can barely see in front of us. The wind instrument's gone. At that point, we knew that things are getting worse. Like everything. So Helena reached out to the Marine Rescue because at this point we still have Starlink and everything. And do you want to jump in there?
Yeah, I reached out to Marine Rescue in New Caledonia just to tell them what we're up to. We were not needing help at that moment, but it smelled like we might. So it's a good practice. It's just like, look, we are doing this. This is what happens. Just keep an eye on us and have your eyes and ears open because we might reach out with like a mayday or something that it didn't really come to my mind that we will. And yeah, I reached out to them. And the next thing, a thunderstorm comes in on top of the squall. Also, the lightning happens. And at this point, yeah, we are like, you know what? We are a little scared to get electrocuted. So we were hiding inside, very close to the helm. And just sometimes a person was coming to check on the autopilot. and hiding again. And actually, it was me who was checking on the autopilot in the moment where I felt the gust of wind. It was just like poof, like pushed me. And I felt inside, this is not good. This is like super bad. And my instinct told me, jump inside. And I jumped like for a volleyball, like for a ball. So I just like jumped in. I even fell down. And the very next thing, we hear this horrible sound, like crah. And that was the mast breaking in half and falling right at the helm.
Oh, wow.
There's a roof, so if somebody was sitting at the helm, would not be hurt or die, but that was unknown at the moment, right? The mast decided to fall exactly right there. So then we were just like, okay, now we are here. We have no mast, no sails, no engines, big waves. Everything is happening. A big disco lightning.
So now you're in trouble.
Now we are in trouble. So at this stage, Dusty grabbed the EPIRB, which is emergency beacon. Every little boat has it. And it's like a device that talks to satellite and sends them distress signal to everyone around and the rescue team as well. And I wanted to connect with the rescue team through internet again, but I couldn't because the cloud was so thick that the Starlink didn't go through. So now we don't have internet.
Wow.
Yeah, but we waited a little bit. The cloud cleared a bit. The conditions didn't change, just internet returned. And that's when we started to be in touch with the rescue team saying like, yep, they already told they see our EPIRB and they're like, are you fine? And we're like, we are fine. Like we are healthy. We are not sinking at this point, but we need help. It's scary. Help.
Did you have power?
Yeah, so luckily we still had power. We've got about 1,200 amp hours of lithium battery on the boat, and so that can last us, probably like 3 days without any sun or without charging.
So it's not like you were in, really dark conditions.
No, but this, of course, happened in the middle of the night. So this whole thing started around 6 p.m., like right after the sun went down. And
of course.
Yeah. And we're in the middle of the ocean. There's nothing around for ages. And so on boats, you also have a VHF radio, and your antenna is normally on the top of the mast. Well, our mast broke. The mast is hanging over the side of the boat. Part of it is on the roof. The other half, the majority of it, was hanging off over the side of the boat. And with every big wave, it's just smashing onto the hull of the boat. And sailboat masts, lots of them have these things called spreaders, and they stick out off the side of the mast, and they're very pointy. And we were very worried that on one of these big waves, that one of the spreaders, was going to puncture the hull of the boat, and then all of a sudden, we'd be taking on water.
Oh, okay.
In the middle of the ocean with no one close by. I mean, we do have a life raft that's ocean rated that we could get into, but you don't want to have to abandon ship and get in a life raft.
No. At this point, we dressed up ourselves in wetsuits just to be prepared for the emergency exit to the life raft. Life jackets, wetsuits, and every 5-10 minutes we were checking our bilges, which is like underfloor, if they are filling up with water, just to make sure we are not taking in any water. And also checking on the mast. We could see it from a bathroom window. So we were just like checking, did it change position? Is it poking a hole now or not? And that was very stressful.
Now, the other couple with you, were they just like hired crew, or were they friends?
We actually found them on Facebook. So there's all these different pages like Crew Finder worldwide, and there's people that have sailboats who are doing these passages, and then there's a lot of people that want to come and join along. And there's these massive groups, and there's heaps of them. Lots of them have over like 100,000 members, and everyone's posting every day, and that's a thing. And we found out about that. We made some posts, said we were looking for crew, and we got 100 responses in the first day. We're having to go through and mess with those people and kind of interview.
Yeah, I've actually had someone who she would pretty much sail the world by getting jobs
Nice.
as crew on private
Yeah.
boats, and she now she now has a travel podcast, and so I had her on, just as a fellow podcaster, but in talking to her about her background, she was one of those people like the couple you had on.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a way. It's a way to make an adventure for yourself. Definitely.
yeah, and yeah. So anyone who's wanting to try and potentially sail the world, you don't have to have your own boat. You could be crew on someone else's boat, and everyone pitches in. It's kind of like everyone just chips in their own share, and it really helps out the people that have the boat, because if you're doing long passages, that's another person to alternate shifts with. Because otherwise, me and Helen would have to be doing 6 hours on, 6 hours off. But if you can split it with other people, it makes it way better, and it's just fun having other people on the boat.
True.
Well, I'm sure this was a crew, being serving as crew that they'll remember for the rest of their lives.
Oh yeah, yeah. It was an experience,
So go
Yes.
ahead. What happened next?
man. So the mast is down. We pulled the EPIRB, and we haven't been through that situation before. I actually never thought we'd have to pull the emergency beacon and activate it. And after you activate it, you're kind of like looking around. You're like, okay, well, what now?
What's next?
I activated it. What happens? Like, do people come in 30 minutes, an hour, a day? Like, you don't know. I realized that because they people ask me, they go, okay, you're the captain. What happens now? I was like, actually, I have no clue. And once the rain let up and we get the Starlink signal again, I noticed, because we'd already been in contact with Numia Marine Rescue and we were messaging on WhatsApp, and they sent a message like, "We saw that you activated your EPIRB. Are you okay?" And we're like, "No, no, we're not okay. We got demasted. No engines." And normally that situation, you could, they say you're kind of supposed to cut away the mast. So the mast is attached by these big shrouds, these metal cables, and we have an angle grinder on board. And I went outside to go and try and cut it off, so the mast stopped banging against the boat, and it would basically remove that risk of one of the spreaders puncturing the hull. But at this point in time, the wind is still howling. The sea, it's going like 4 to 5 meters, and I get on the deck of the boat, and it's trying to buck you off like you're on a bull in a rodeo. We're like, wow, okay, this is not good. I'm gonna end up like cutting off a hand or a finger or falling overboard. This can't really be done right now.
Yeah.
And so Marine Rescue goes, look, okay, we're gonna try and find a solution for you. I mean, okay. And then like an hour later, we're like, hey guys, what's going on? What's happening? We didn't know if like they're gonna send out like a helicopter or it's like, a different boats or what kind of goes on. Because we're so far away from shore. We're 170 nautical miles. And at us going about 7 or 8 knots, our navigation was saying it was going to take us like over 20 hours to get there. So we started thinking like, okay, if we were 20 hours away, maybe, in these big seas, if it was a different boat, they might be able to go, twice as fast if it was like an offshore boat. So maybe someone could get out here in 10 hours. We're not quite sure.
Yeah.
And then a couple hours later, the Namir Marine Rescue, they go, look, guys, good news. We found a boat that's somewhat close by, and it's gonna come get you. And it's a cruise ship. And we're like, whoa, okay. We're like, how far away is it? And they go, yeah, probably about like 5 or 6 hours. We're like, okay, like it's good.
It's good.
Really good news finding out that someone's on the way. But also at this point in time, every minute feels like 10 minutes
Eternity.
or 20 minutes. And we're just sitting there. Everyone's kind of in silence. We're still just kind of like listening to all the sounds of the boat. We had giant waves coming over our boat. Water's getting splashed in from everywhere. The mast is still banging on the hull. Where everyone, with every big bang, everyone kind of like clinches.
Yeah.
And we're just waiting for a sound of like, water coming in and the hull being compromised. And so
I was going to say, I'll bet the dogs were tense.
It was interesting. They could feel our emotions. At this point in time, we all have our life jackets on, our wetsuits. The dogs have their little doggy life jackets on. And it was funny. Helena was sitting on the floor, and like all three dogs were like trying to climb up and like sit in her lap.
Yeah.
And they were just mainly just kind of like quiet and needy and wanted a bunch of cuddles.
Yeah. At this point, I already knew the cruise ship was coming, and I had prescription drugs for dogs just in case, because our boat is equipped with a whole bunch of prescription drugs for emergency. And one of that was like a dog Valium or something, like a calming down pill for anxiety. And I thought, you know what? It feels like a right time to give them a pill. Not that they were super anxious, but I imagined there's going to be transfer, rescue. I wanted them to be happy and calm. So I found in the fridge some steaks. And I'm like, well, we're abandoning the ship. The steaks, they're going to just stay in the fridge. Nobody wanted to eat. So I cooked some steaks for the dogs. They loved it. They got a steak each, a pill, and they were cruisy. They were really happy.
So let me ask you, in advance of this cruise ship coming, had you ever been on a cruise ship?
I have never been before. Dusty has been once, or a few times actually as a kid.
So I went with my parents. We went on a few Royal Caribbean cruises when I was like a teenager, but I've never been on one as like a full adult. So it was a interesting experience.
Interesting. And for me, it was super interesting because it was my first time ever on such a big boat and so like colorful and flamboyant. As soon as I entered, I was like, whoa, this looks like a palace. Seriously, all the colors.
Well, that sounds like because I always ask people about, I always ask my guests about their first cruise. And that sounds like the reaction of many of them on their first cruise. This looks like a palace. So talk about when the ship was approaching. How did you know they were close? Or I guess you just saw them.
Well, funny enough, man, after the Marine Rescue in New Caledonia told us that the cruise ship was coming to get us, they had also passed on my phone number. And the captain of the ship then he starts texting me on WhatsApp. He goes, "Hey, don't worry. We're coming to get you. We're going full steam ahead." The guy was such a legend. He was sending us constant communication. He was being very reassuring, letting us know that, he's like, "We will come save you. We're going as fast as it will go. Hang tight if you need anything."
Do you remember the captain's name?
Ed. Captain Ed.
Captain Ed from Italy.
Ed, you don't remember his last name?
Not off the top of my head, but it was in a few of the news articles.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I can check there. That's right.
Yeah.
I will check that. The only reason I asked that is many of our listeners know captains by name. They don't know them personally, but know of captains by name. And there are a lot of captains whose reputation precedes them. And it sounds like your captain was quite animated to get there and save you guys.
It was amazing. The dude was just so compassionate and caring and all around, a really good guy. So he's the captain of the Carnival Splendor. And I think he was the captain the past 5 or 7 years there.
Yes, and a very skilled person, seriously, because the sea state was horrible and he was going full throttle to save us as fast as he can. And it was 20 knots at that time. And it took a lot of skill and precision to approach such a small boat like ours in this big swell. and then throw the ropes and not touch and not like ram us, and also to have enough time to pull us on the boat. Yeah, he was so good.
So when they got about maybe an hour out, he was like, "Oh, we're 15 nautical miles from you. Can you see us?" And we're like, "Whoa, guys!" They said that they're asking if we can see him. We get outside, we're looking around.
Nope.
No, don't see him. I was like, "No, don't see him. Whatever. We'll keep looking." And then they get like a bit closer, and then we could see him. He goes, "Okay, can you shoot off a flare, and so we can find out where you guys are?" We're like, "All right." So we get out the flares. I shoot off a flare. And the flares, I've never shot a flare like that before. It's like one firework that goes up into the sky, but then it just lingers. It like stays and floats there for like almost like a good minute or something.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it's super bright. Yeah, really effective. And he goes, "Yep, we see it. We're coming." And what happened is they went and parked the boat to try and block the waves and provide a little bit of protection. So they turned the boat sideways where the waves were coming from. And then the captain used like the thrusters to bring that giant cruise ship really gently close to our boat, which in this giant swell as well. I don't know how he did it, but the guy is very talented.
What a legend.
So all of a sudden, the cruise ship gets up close to ours. We're looking at it like, okay, now what? Like this thing, it's a floating city. It looks massive. Look up, and it's just like,
Yeah.
We're in the middle of the ocean, so far away from everything. By this time, it's like 3 a.m, and we're like, it just almost seems fake. We're almost like a bit delirious. We're looking at it like, okay, so what now? And our boats are kind of like touching and banging a little bit. And then all of a sudden, this door opens from above us, like probably like 15 feet above us.
Yeah.
And we see people, the door opens, and we see light and people. Then they throw us these ropes. And they go, "Hey, tie up the boat." So I do one rope to the starboard side, one rope to the port. And now we're attached to the cruise ship. And we're still thinking like, what now? Like that door is still like 15 feet above us. What goes on? But then like a big wave comes, and all of a sudden it brings our boat almost level with that door. And then the wave passes.
Oh,
and
wow.
our boat goes down, and we're like, "Oh, okay, that's how this is going to happen." And okay, this is a little bit more treacherous than we thought, but okay. So we had a couple different. We had our grab bag, which had like passports, important documents, a little bit of food and stuff, and then we each, because we had time, each had another small bag that had clothes for a couple days. Like you're doing like a weekend trip type thing. So we start by starting to time it where our boat gets up next to the cruise ship for that door, and then we throw in a bag, and then wait for the next wave. And so we start. Yeah, so we get. I think we had 4 bags. We get those in, and then next it was the dogs. So at this time, the dogs, they had their little anti-anxiety medication, and they looked like these little buoys because they have these doggy life jackets on them with like handles on them. We have these drugged up puppies with like that look like floating buoys with their life jackets with these handles, and then we have to wait for it to get up even. And then we pass off the dogs one at a time to one of the Carnival staff members, and that went off.
So you were able to actually like hand them off. You didn't have to throw the dogs.
No. They had a good transfer. They were really safely from hand to hand through the handle.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was happy about it.
If we didn't have those harnesses the life jackets with the handles, I think it would have been very, very difficult. So that was a lifesaver for us, or for the dogs.
Yeah, definitely. And then the next step was for us to get on a boat. So our transfer, and that was tricky. Woo! First went Huli, she was our crew member, And
Colleen, okay.
yeah, and she hesitated because it's scary. The boats were like swinging like 4 meters difference sometimes, and the ladder is just like you have to just catch on it and for your dear life hold to it. And she hesitated, and I was like, "No, please don't hesitate, because in these situations you have to commit. You make your mind, you time it, and commit. Don't do like, oh, I'm going, I'm not going.
Yeah.
And so at this point, the ramifications of error are significant because the boats are touching and hitting on each other, and they're going up and down. And with them being attached, if you fell in between our boat and the cruise ship, it'd be like instant death because they're hitting on each other. And these big boats, a lot of force, it would just smash you in one bit. So we're now in the situation where it's nighttime, the seas are big, we haven't slept in a long time, and we have this very treacherous transfer from our catamaran onto the cruise ship.
Yes. And when my turn came, I was like, okay, let's do it. And actually the adrenaline hitting so much, I had zero fear. And zero doubt as well. I was like, I'm gonna make it. I'm not scared. I imagine how it's gonna happen. And I waited for a moment, I committed, grabbed the ladder, and of course, as soon as I grabbed that ladder, both ships, one went up, one went down.
Oh, wow.
My legs lost grip of the ladder, and I looked down, and I was like, "Whoa, that's high up!"
Wow.
Yeah, and the next thing I felt was the Carnival staff, the crew. They grabbed me. Like I felt like several very strong hands on my arms and on my back, and they just like basically pulled me through anything they could catch, my jacket, myself, and they pulled me on their ship. And I was like, wow, thank you.
Now, Colleen had already gotten over her fears, and she was already on.
So it was actually Juliet. So
Juliet. I'm sorry.
Yeah, all good. And so the first time she almost hesitated and almost lost her balance, and her boyfriend Ivan grabbed her, secured her, and then I think gave her a little bit of a pep talk. And then on the next, and he helped. I think they like timed it where she tried to jump up and transfer, and he was able to kind of grab her and help push her up. And then the crew got her. So
she was safe and sound already on the ship.
Julie got first, and she got inside. Then Helena went, and then Ivan went, and then I went last on the boat. And when you
the captain has to be the last one off the boat, right?
I think so. Yeah, you got to make sure everyone's safe.
Yeah, for sure.
So, but the weirdest part. So we've been, at sea for 8 days now. The past 8 hours were quite traumatic, but plus 2.5 days were really full on, with 8 hours being really full on right before this. And we've been in the dark for a long time. And once you get pulled up into this cruise ship, it was like you entered a different world. All of a sudden, the lights are super bright. There's like 30 crew members all kind of staring at us like we were aliens or something, because we're getting pulled up. We're wearing wetsuits with these inflatable life jackets. And as soon as you get pulled onto the ship, then they have a certain safety protocols for, I guess, bringing on stranded random people at sea, which is, I think, is a very good procedure for cruise ships to have. They like put you up against the wall, pat you down, ask you a bunch of questions like, what's your name, what's your age, where are you from, what's your nationality, and then they took these photos, and then they verified that with asked if we had our passports on us, which luckily we had our grab bag. Everyone had their passports, and they're able to verify that information to make sure. I mean, because think about it, we could be, pirates, undercover,
pirates,
yeah, and we could have guns on us, and like it would be, it could endanger everyone on the boat. So that's they did everything by the book, but that process only took like a minute, and then as soon as we were verified, they sat us down, gave us a towel, gave us waters. I had my hand was really bloody from cutting the shrouds, and they started giving me medical attention on it, and everybody, like the customer service was just incredible. Like you went from like being, kind of a bit scared and in this traumatic situation to all of a sudden feeling like reassured and comforted
and taken care of.
Yeah. And it was quite incredible experience.
Yeah.
Now, when you were being rescued, and I'm sure that you probably didn't notice this, but I'll ask anyway. Did you notice if passengers were looking down?
Yes, I've noticed they were on their balconies. There were people. And I've noticed them. They were taking videos as well because I could see some flashlights here and there. Not many.
Okay.
It was not like a crowd, but it was a handful of people.
I didn't notice anyone.
I saw people on the balcony.
So tell us about your time. You can always say now, well, I've been on Carnival Splendor. So tell us about your time on Carnival Splendor.
Yeah, one fun part was, fun and not fun. Not fun because during the transfer, I lost a diamond from my engagement ring. We got engaged.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. We got engaged last year in the US, in Texas, during the 4th of July. And I had this amazing, beautiful engagement ring with a diamond in it. And when I was being transferred, I hit the ladder and the boat and the rock got knocked off. And yeah, I was pretty sad about it. But well, that was the sacrifice for Poseidon. It's okay.
Should have been happy to be alive.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I was super happy, but then the thought was afterwards, right? We're already walking on cruise ship, and I'm like, man, I don't have my diamond. And the captain invited us for a dinner with captain and the crew. And during the dinner, we did discuss a potential marriage on the cruise ship because captain can give us the marriage. And we were like, whoa, we could actually do that now on a cruise ship. And we contemplated that for a minute, but we were so busy with recovery, interviews, and it was not that much time that we happened to have on the ship. So we didn't do it, but it was on the plate.
Yeah. So
now, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Dustin.
Yeah, I was going to say. So we get onto the cruise ship. They pat us down. They make sure we're not pirates. We had to fill these forms. We had to do a COVID test, do some other different stuff, and that took maybe like 30, 45 minutes.
Yeah.
And then they go, "Look, we got you each your own room." We're like, "Oh, well, that's amazing." I'm like, how much would we owe you? And they're like, no, it's free. Don't worry about it. If you want room service, order room service. And he's like, and the dogs, they can stay in the room with you.
Yes.
We're like, what? No way. This is amazing. Everyone was super friendly.
Yeah.
So many of the crew were like the biggest dog lovers as well. And we just felt so welcomed. I'd say even more than welcomed. It was like the dogs were celebrities on the cruise ship. And then we were, by association to the dogs, had like the celebrity status.
So you got to walk around the cruise ship, and the passengers got to see what all of the I'm sure by now they know it's something major.
The dogs could go everywhere on the ship besides the restaurants, which makes perfect sense. And they had the best time. And everyone, like, as soon as they saw the dogs, their face would light up and that just big smiles. Everyone wanted to give them pats. The dogs love getting pats.
Yeah, and videos. And the chef was cooking meals for our dogs because we didn't have a dog food. Chef was a big dog lover. He had 3 dogs at his home as well. And he was like, oh, so what do you think they want today? Chicken and carrots and sweet potatoes?
So the dogs are getting pampered. They're getting, meals made for them by a chef.
Yeah.
We're getting to enjoy this amazing cruise ship. And everyone, every time they see us walking with the dogs, we're just so happy to see us and wanted to find out more. And it was just this incredible experience.
It was like pocket of joy.
So how long were you on Splendor?
2, 3 days.
2 or 3 days.
Yeah.
So we got picked up that night, and the cruise ship was on the way to Mystery Island in Vanuatu. And I think we got there that next afternoon, the next day. And we stayed a night there, which that place, Mystery Island, we didn't go off the boat, but we could see it from from up top, and it just looked like a different world. It looked so spectacular.
Yeah.
And then after Mystery Island, we came to Noumea in New Caledonia, and that's where we got off here, and that's where we had the boat towed in.
Okay. So where and I know you were getting a lot of requests for interviews and all of that. Talk about that a little bit.
Yes, so we've got lots of media attention. All the news, Channel 7, Channel 10, Washington Post, Good Morning America. Everybody wanted to hear our story because it's a very breathtaking story, like, oh my God, the preparation, the passage, the trouble, and then this beautiful floating castle.
I think mainly also the dogs.
And the
Everyone loved the
dogs.
dogs. Yes. The comments and lots of stuff. Everyone was like wanting to make sure the dogs were okay.
Yes.
And yeah, it was really cute.
So cute.
So did that brief but very, very special experience on Carnival Splendor influence you to someday try a traditional cruise? I mean, I know Dustin, you cruise as a teen, but
yes,
oh, definitely.
I definitely want to go again in different circumstances and have a different instrument.
yeah, a little different circumstance. You don't want to enter off the side of the ship.
No. I want to enter normally with my margarita in the hand,
There you go.
I want that. Definitely, it's on the list of things to do now.
And but all never look at cruise ships the same. And apparently they do this kind of often. They come to the aid of sailors in need out at sea. So they're like these big angels just floating around the ocean
saving people.
Yeah. They, I hear stories about, picking up, sometimes migrants, sometimes people whose boat ran into trouble. Never someone that I read the story and said, I got to have them on the show like you.
Oh, thank you.
I've had 200 shows. I think this is show number 200. It might be 200 exactly, or maybe it's 201, it's 202, something like that. I've never had a show like this. I've never had a show with a story like yours. I had a show, what did I call it? High Sea, Adventure on the High Seas. It was kind of, death defying. It was back in the COVID days, and that story was pretty unique, and it involved helicopters and the police, and really interesting story, but nothing like your story. What an amazing story!
Thank you.
The biosecurity said the same thing. Mel, the biosecurity officer here, they checked us in. She goes, I've been doing this job for 20 years and never seen anything like this.
Yeah, a boat with 3 dogs upgrading halfway through.
And getting rescued by a cruise ship and coming in. And
we will post on our YouTube channel, Sailing Barking Cat, the full story with visuals because we are vloggers. So we have a lot of good content of what really happened in the middle of the ocean and how the rescue really happened. You can really see it with your eyes. And what's more, tell
our listeners where they can see that again. I know you mentioned it, and maybe I'll put it in the show notes too.
Thank you.
But tell our listeners about your YouTube site.
Thank you so much. Yes, so it's called Sailing Barking Cat, and it's on YouTube. So go there, type Sailing Barking Cat, and you will find our stories.
We now have over 100,000 subscribers, which is pretty cool. So we get this Silver YouTube Creators Award from it.
Right.
And we've only had the channel for like 3.
Yeah.
Wow. 100,000? Wow.
Yeah, I think
Well,
so.
you'll get a few more after this airs. You know, we don't have that kind of audience, but you know, we're heard in 140 countries. So Australia, by the way, is our third largest. First is U.S., then UK, then Canada, and Australia is our fourth highest listenership. So,
Yeah, it's
Oh,
like all the big
beautiful.
cruising markets.
Yeah.
yep. Well, I am so happy for you guys. It could have been a very, very different story. But before we let you go, we usually ask our guests some light or fun cruise questions. So we're going to ask you. You're our guest, so we're going to accord you the same treatment. So the first question: in normal times, in calmer times, how do you spend your me time?
So free time. So me and Helena, we've been living in Manly. It's basically a suburb of Sydney, Australia, and yeah, it's a little beach town. And so during our days, we were always near the water. Swimming, surfing, snorkeling, just kind of being outdoors, and that's kind of what led us to live this lifestyle. And man, I think I'm just happier when I'm near the water.
Yes, me too. I love snorkeling. That's my best thing ever.
Okay. Second question: what's your favorite cruise or sailing? Because since you don't, you do a different kind of cruising. What's your favorite sailing drink and sailing food?
Oh, I know
Ooh.
immediately. My favorite sailing drink are margaritas. They are the best. And they always lift up spirits. Something goes wrong. It's like, guys, wait a minute. I've got this. I'm making margaritas for everyone.
And Jimmy Buffett nailed it with Margaritaville.
And favorite food? I like barbecue. Anything on barbecue. Oh, the favorite actually is when we catch a big fish and we make sashimi. That's business.
On the cruise ship.
On the cruise ship. Oh, sorry. On the cruise ship.
Okay.
Sailing food or cruise food? Because I know that you don't have many experiences to draw upon. Although, did you have a nice meal on the cruise ship?
Oh, every meal was amazing. Like you literally had this giant buffet of like amazing quality food. And then we didn't have to clean up afterwards. We didn't have to cook. And we're like, oh my God, why can't every meal be this good? And then you get like these cheeky, I love tiramisu. And then we were getting, and you only have it on like kind of special occasions or something. It's not something I have every day. And getting to have that on the cruise ship was amazing.
Yes.
Everything you wanted, whatever you're in the mood for, it was there, and it was so delicious. Like they nailed it.
Yes, I know the dogs love the chicken and veggies for sure.
Now I'm sure you had wine on the ship.
Yeah, we did, but I think we were also
Probably couldn't compare to your wine.
oh, they had a good selection of some really premium Australian wine. But hopefully, Carnival might also want to take on Little Ripples, and
Yeah, that would be a nice story.
I think so.
That would really be a really nice story.
Yeah.
Keep me posted. Well, I know your channel, so I'll stay posted. Speaking of wine, when I researched you guys, I learned a lot about Little Ripples, and it's just wonderful, wonderful, wonderful what you're doing.
Oh, thanks, Paul.
Say something to our audience, most of whom are in the U.S., but not all. Can we get the wine in the U.S.?
So we're planning on launching in the States and probably sometime in the next year. And yeah, so stay tuned. So not at the moment. And with international shipping and the different liquor laws and stuff, it would cost, I don't even know if we can even legally sell to a consumer from Australia in the States, but even if we could, the shipping would take forever. It would cost more than the wine itself. And yeah, it's just not feasible. But so not at the moment, but in about a year.
Well, I know the wonderful things that you're doing with the proceeds. So where are those proceeds coming from? Where are you selling it now for the listeners in the other 139 countries?
Yeah, so we are selling all throughout Australia. We've got a partnership with the core hotels in Australia. We have our wines on the Lufthansa and Discover Airways across Europe. We're
Oh,
selling to some major retailers and distributors in Singapore, Hong Kong, in the UAE, and yeah, hopefully, yeah, we're also speaking with some other big hotel chains and other cruise lines as well. So we've just, yeah, really been growing. Everyone's, I mean, it's amazing wine. It stacks up at the price point, and I think people are just really enjoying that. You can have a glass of wine, be stoked on the quality at that price, and it also know that it's going to help make a positive impact in the world. So you're not sacrificing your quality, and you're getting to help kind of join us on our mission to try and help alleviate the water crisis. Like we just funded a new, actually a whole water system for this basically this town and their hospital, and this is in Uganda. And this hospital, due to its location, and most of it happened, now it doesn't have running water in the hospital. So they have pregnant women are having to come to this hospital with their own water. A lot of times it's not sterile water, and they might just get it from like a, you know, a pond or something, and they have to bring it in with them. Can you imagine like being pregnant, having to bring in your own water? Like it's just when we heard that, we're like,
Oh no.
look, we need to do something. So that's the current project that we're working on, and yeah, construction's underway, so it's pretty exciting.
do you have just a little synopsis, a paragraph of what you do?
Yeah, I can.
What's your wine company? Yeah, I just want to put it in the show notes because
Oh, thanks,
talking
Paul.
about it, the listeners don't really, get the feeling that I got when I read about what you're doing. So,
Oh man, thank you. Yeah, I'll send it through.
the last light question I'm going to ask. First of all, I want to say welcome to Helena and Dustin's family and friends who might be listening. Your followers on YouTube, for instance. I know they have been reading about you and seeing you on the news. We hope your friends have enjoyed what they've heard at the Joy of Cruising podcast, and will come back for future episodes or follow us on IG or join our Facebook group so that your friends and family can learn just one more thing about you. Share one thing that my listeners and your friends and fans don't know about each of you.
Ooh, good one. Oh la la. I am so vocal and open. I think they know a lot, if not everything. But let me think something.
I'm a Leo, and I was also born in the Chinese New Year of a tiger. So I'm a lion and a tiger. And Helena was you're Cancer, and you're born the year of the cow, so she's a Cancer cow.
I'm a Cancer cow. Yeah, that's for sure. But what?
I know one other one about Dustin. Forgive me for saying this. I can cut it out if you don't like me saying this.
No, go for it. Yeah.
Dustin, listeners, who you will see pictures of on when I promote this episode, was chosen. I might have this wrong, Dustin. Correct me if I'm wrong. The hottest guy in Australia.
Back in I think 2016. So there's Cosmopolitan magazine, and then they had a slightly younger version. It was called Cosmo. In Australia, every year they would have this thing. It was called what Australia's top bachelor
Of the year.
Yeah, Bachelor of the Year. It was the Clio competition, and I made it into the top 30, and it was like this big like multi-month competition. Didn't win, but I was a finalist, which was pretty cool.
Well, I was close. I knew it was something like that.
Yeah.
I hope you don't mind, Dustin, me bringing that up.
No, not at all. No, it's funny.
Helena and Dustin, it has been great meeting you. Thank you so much for coming on the Journ Cruising Podcast and providing the cruising community a human interest story, a little bit different than what they are used to hearing. I've said it before, I'll keep saying it. We are so glad you are safe. Continue.
Thanks, Paul.
Go. Oh, I'm sorry.
We've had such a good chat with you, and really appreciate the offer to come on the podcast. And we had a great time.
Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you. Continued all the best, safe travels, because I know you're going to continue your journey on La Vida.
Mm-hmm.
And as I like to say, we'll see you on the ocean.
Yes, definitely. See you on the ocean.
Thanks, Paul.
The Joy of Cruising and Cruising Interrupted, each $16.99 plus shipping, and new release, The Joy of Cruising Again for $18.99 can be ordered at the link on thejoyofcruisingpodcast.com. For each of the 3 books, use the discount code Joy of Cruising Podcast and get $4 off. The Joy of Cruising books are also available at Amazon. Order the ebook at Amazon or your favorite online retailer. Stay in touch by joining the Joy of Cruising Podcast Facebook group or following the Joy of Cruising Podcast on Instagram. We're constantly adding new shows. Please leave a review and tell a friend about us. We hope you enjoyed this brief escape to the ocean. See you next week.